How do you learn Power BI? How do you know if Power BI is the right tech tool for you? Well, I'm going to try to answer that question. I'm going to try to answer both of those questions and a couple of more in this video. Not going to take too much of your time. To be honest, I am not totally sure if it's the tech tool for you, and I am not totally sure how to tell you even to know if it's the right tech tool for you. So what I am going to tell you is how I got into Power BI and how I determined that it was the right tech tool for me, okay? So with that said, like many of you, you've probably had several entrepreneur journeys, ventures over the past few years. And of course, mine is no different. Actually, my entrepreneur journeys are so deep that I even wrote a book about it. And it's called The Best Idea I Ever Had Right Now, with a list of some of my best ideas and how I went after those ventures. Needless to say, that it really has nothing to do with Power BI. Well, kind of, sort of, because since they really didn't pan out, I kind of fell into some other things, some other professions, and, you know, Power BI ended up being the last of those steps as of right now. So what I will say, I guess I can say is, you know, I ain't gonna say failing, but not succeeding at some of those other ventures kind of put me in a position to where I needed to learn Power BI. I needed to learn a tech tool. That could be your case as well. And if you're in a situation where you've tried something or several things or many things and they didn't pan out for you, you updated your resume over and over again to try to get that new job in whatever profession you're trying to get that job in, and with a career, and it just didn't pan out because it just didn't pan out. You know, you're probably in a very similar situation that I was at one point. So let's talk about the Power BI deal. I didn't necessarily jump right into Power BI. To be honest, I didn't even know what Power BI was. I had no clue. Had never even heard of Power BI. To be honest, I really had never even heard of tech. I'd never even heard of tech, to be honest. Now, what is that? Let me kind of clarify that. Information technology. I had heard of information technology before. I had gone to school with guys that majored in information technology. Computer science, I'd gone to school with guys that majored with friends, not necessarily just guys, but I've gone to school with friends that majored in computer science and have computer science degrees and information technology degrees. And so as far as tech itself, you know, for what we know now, tech being data, big data, I really didn't have an idea. I mean, talking about like clueless of what tech really was or what tech really meant to the respect that I know what it means today. Well, so here's the deal. I was actually teaching 5th and 6th grade math. I was teaching 5th and 6th grade math. I had fallen into a situation to where my business venture that I was in at the time, which was a construction business, it folded and things happened. So I had to find something else to get into. Ended up getting a job working for an electronics store. I don't know if you guys heard of Tiger Direct, but I worked at Tiger Direct, sold indoor sales, trying to, you know, make a bunch of sales calls and make a bunch of sales, but at the same time, it didn't work for me. Really kind of felt like it was a setup to, yeah, you know, you can make a lot of money if you do this, but really that carrot that I was chasing was really never there. It was kind of an invisible carrot, to be honest. Anyway, I had a friend that worked at a school, and the school needed a math teacher, and she knew that I had somewhat of a math background because of my educational background. She knew that I had somewhat of a math background, and I was fairly strong in math. So she said, "Hey," she said, "T, I got something for you. You know, what you think?" And I said, "Okay, you know, let's look at it, let's try it out." And I interviewed and all that kind of stuff, and it kind of worked out for me. So at the end of the day, ended up becoming a fifth and 6th grade math teacher. Well, the numbers that I needed every 2 weeks really wasn't panning out how I needed the numbers to pan out. I mean, when they say the math is not math, and the math really wasn't math, right? To make a long story short. So, I was continuously looking for other things, and I was continuously, into other ventures, personal entrepreneurial ventures that kind of helped the math a little bit. But I had a friend, and he came to me. He said, "T," he said, "Look," he said, "I've got something for you. You might want to check this out." I was like, "Well, what is it?" So he said, something about. I think he said it was something about tech or some type of online course or something like that. And I was like, no, I don't think I want to do that because I'm not necessarily trying to get any smarter than what I am. You know what I'm saying? I really didn't want to learn anything else. I really was really cool with where I was. I didn't want to learn anything else. I didn't want to do any more schooling. I didn't want to read any more books, the whole nine. Well, he said, T, so you might really want to check it out. He said, man, so you can probably make about $80,000 a year if you do it. So I'm like, yeah, nah, because it sounded like a hoax. It sounded like it sounded like it was a money grab. It sounded like a hoax. It sounded like I don't know what it sounded like, but it was, again, I never heard of tech, so I didn't have anything to really compare it to, and saying that, hey, you can start out making $80,000 a year. I was like, well, if you can make $80,000 a year, doing this or doing that particular thing, why is everybody not doing it? So he was like, man, I don't know. But at the end of the day, we were going back and forth. So after about, I don't know, probably about 4 to 5 months, maybe even 6 months. Hell, it might even been a year. But it was a while before I said okay. But after a little bit, I talked to him, and I said, hey, so what you got going? He said, I signed up for that course that I was telling you about. I said, how's it going for you? And he said, well, I just got started. Give me a little time, I'll tell you. And really, he had really started about a week or two prior to me having that conversation with him, asking him that question, and him saying that he'll let me know once he get a little deeper into it. So somehow, I don't remember exactly how, but the website of that particular online course came across my email. Now, he may have sent it across my email. He may have had it sent across my email so he can get a referral fee. Hell, I don't know. But I ended up getting the website ended up coming across my email, and I opened it, and it was, X company, ABC company, ABC.com company, and in the email there was a video in there, and the guy that started the program, in the video, in the email, he was saying, hey, this is a tech company. And if you're interested in learning tech, you could potentially make starting out $80,000 coming out of the program. So I'm like, yeah, right, whatever. But he caught my attention with that email. So what I ended up doing was, in that email was actually an invitation to an open house, which would be an online virtual house. I mean, it was an online virtual open house, right? So I ended up signing up for the open house. And when I signed up, it was probably maybe 200-300 people online at the open house. So I was like, whoa, this is interesting. But what really caught my curiosity, what really got me curious about it, was that out of the 200-300 people that were on there, I'm gonna say about 90% looked like me, sounded like me. I'm pretty sure they had got up and walked. They'd have walked like me. When they talked like me. And I was like, whoa, am I missing the boat on something? So that caught my attention because I was like, how is there so many of us that are, interested in this particular thing? Well, I sat there on I sat there on the open house and I listened, and basically the guy was saying he was describing the tech tool that he was teaching. He's describing his course that he was teaching, and I was like, okay. And then some of the questions that the individuals were asking that were online, in the virtual open house, some of them were asking questions that I would have, and some were asking questions that I was like, you should already know this. I mean, I knew the answers to some of this stuff. So it really kind of made me feel like, okay, this is something that could be a viable option. And if, average individuals such as myself were taking interest in it, then it possibly could be something I could probably learn and be successful at. Well, the other thing was, he emphasized again at the end of the open house, and well, actually in the middle of the open house and at the end of the open house, he emphasized, hey, once you finish the course, you could potentially start out making $80,000 a year. So when he said potentially start out making $80,000 a year, that really got me interested, because then I kind of felt like it wasn't not really a money grab, because he didn't say you'll start out making $100,000. I mean, not $100,000. You wouldn't start out making $80,000 a year. He said you would potentially you could potentially make $80,000 a year, which means he really wasn't trying to oversell what someone else's salary would be or pay range would be, because as we all know, everyone is different. Everyone has a different work ethic, and those that work harder could probably make more, and those that don't work as hard probably won't make as much. And then you can have some that don't work that could work hard and don't get and don't get a good break, and you can get some that don't work as hard and they can get lucky, right? Get lucky and make more money, or don't get a good break and make less money. So that kind of got my attention. Okay, he's not necessarily trying to oversell this thing. He's somewhat seeming to be sincere and transparent about what could really happen at the end of the program, which was a 16-week program. It was a 4-month program, it was a 16-week program. And another thing that caught my attention was he said that he actually created the modules, the courses within the program. So I'm thinking to myself, and he was a guy that looked like me, walked like me, talked like me, right? Which was interesting, and probably somewhat close to my age, right? So I was like, this is interesting. I'd never heard of it. I've never heard of anything like this before. So I said, okay, well, cool. I said, this may be worth checking out. And he had emphasized that, you could potentially make $80,000 a year, which was probably about $35,000, $40,000 more than what I was making at the time as a school teacher. So I was like, I said that could work. And as being an entrepreneur just by nature, I'm always betting on myself. I'm always betting on myself. So I wasn't scared of betting on myself. But my question then was, what is the price of this course? What's the price of this program? Because, that was going to determine, what type of bet I was about to make. So at the end of the day, I believe the program was like $2,100, like $2,000, $2,100, maybe even $2,200 bucks. So that kind of got me, because I was like, I really ain't got $2,200 bucks to just be throwing away. But again, I had to think about it. I was like, I'm not necessarily throwing it away. If I do it, I won't necessarily be throwing it away. I'll be investing into myself. Now, when we talk about investing into ourselves, I mean, it's kind of like, if baby need a new pair of shoes and car needs some gas, can you really be investing that kind of money into yourself? And I got to wondering, and it's like, man, I said, oh no, this could be kind of spooky. So I was telling my wife about it, and she was like, well, shoot, you ain't got nothing to lose. You know what I'm saying? It's $2,200 bucks, but you could take a chance and bet on it and bet on yourself. $2,200 bucks, and you can potentially be making $35,000, $40,000 more than what you're making right now in about 4 to 5 months. Or You can take that $2,200 and I don't drink, but I can go buy, a bunch of cases of water over the next 4 or 5 months and buy a lot of gas going back and forth to work over the next 4 to 5 months to where that $2,200 is I'm going to spend it regardless, right? So either I'm going to spend it or I'm going to invest it in myself. So, I was like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's do this thing. So I heard that they were having a scholarship. Heard they had a scholarship. And I think the scholarship was for veterans. I'm not a veteran. I'm not a veteran. My dad's a veteran. My stepdad's a veteran. I'm not a veteran. But I gave him a call. I said, hey, I heard you guys have a scholarship for this class you got going on. And they said, yeah. They said, are you a veteran? I said, nah, I'm not a veteran. So they was like, well, you don't qualify for the scholarship. Now, if you can imagine that if the individuals in the class look like me, talk like me, sound like me, the individuals that work for the company, they look like me, talk like me, and sound like me too. So they was ready for game because I was getting ready to spit some serious game. Like, yo, how can I get this thing for the low? And actually I did. I went ahead and I was like, yo, I say, so, are there any other scholarships? And the lady answered the phone and she said no. And pretty much she said no, like, no, and don't ask me anymore, right? Because we don't have scholarships for you. We got scholarships for veterans, but we ain't got it for you because you're not a veteran. So I said, cool. I said, well, are there any payment plans? So she started laughing. She said, yeah. She said, as a matter of fact, you can start for free for the first 30 days. And you ain't got to pay for 30 days. That's your scholarship. That's your payment plan. So you can start and you ain't got to pay it until 30 days. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I was like, if I can just go and get started, I might be able to go and finish this thing in 30 days. And I can finish the program in 30 days and figure out what's really going on. And then I ain't got to pay no money. So, of course, that game, when I did it, I got started. I'm going to get everything done, get this 16 weeks done in 4 weeks. And it didn't happen. I mean, dude, my brain was so fried about what was going on. I was like, dude, what is happening? I don't know none of this stuff. And it had quizzes and tests and stuff like that and had to submit the homework. And I was like, this is crazy. So, of course, I couldn't get everything done in 30 days. So I had to go and make the full payment in 30 days so that I can continue the course. Now, with that said, I was on a whirlwind tour to try to get done within the first 4 weeks. And, of course, I could not get everything done in 4 weeks. But because I continued that whirlwind tour as I was on and trying to get everything done, get everything accomplished so that I could put the challenge to the test to see if I could really make that $80,000 once I completed the course, I said, let me go ahead on and let me stay on this whirlwind tour. Let me try to get this thing done as quick as possible. So what I did end up doing was I did end up getting through the course in right at about 8 weeks and a couple of days. So maybe 8 weeks in a day, maybe 8 weeks and 2 days. I don't totally remember, but it was 8 weeks and a couple of days, somewhere around there. So what that means is it was a 16-week course, and I really finished it in about half the time. 16-week course, and I really finished it in about half the time. So now my thought was, can I get this $80,000 job? The problem that I had with what I had learned, certified and all, the problem that I had learned once when I certified, I had received a certificate for completing the class. So I wasn't certified in the actual skill set itself at that time. I did end up getting certified later, but I didn't get it certified at that time. What I did realize about that particular skill set was I really didn't want to do that. It was a lot of coding. I felt comfortable with the coding, but it just didn't seem like it was something I wanted to do every day for the rest of my life. Now, Could I have done that and made $80,000 and gotten out of teaching and probably made $35,000 to $40,000 more? Would I have done that? Yeah, I would have. But that wasn't the card I was dealt from the deck. So during the class, there was another tool that we learned in the class that actually used that particular coding, and it was a reporting. It was a reporting service. It was a reporting skill, tech reporting skill set. And I said, man, I kind of like this. I'm kind of digging this. I said, now this is the kind of work I want to do. So basically, in that particular course, there were several different skill sets that you learn. There was several different skill sets that you were introduced to. There were several different tech skill sets that you were introduced to, that we were introduced to. And one of the skill sets that we were introduced to was a reporting services, a reporting skill set. So I said, man, I'm kind of digging this. There was some coding, but it wasn't as much coding. And I was like, yeah, I'm kind of digging this. And the guy that started the class, or the founder of the class, he pretty much said, well, that was the kind of work that he did. He was like, yeah, now this is my thing. This is what I do. This is what I do. And he was hyped about it. So I was like, yeah, I'm down with that. I'm cool with that. That's what I want to do. Well, so I started doing a little digging after I completed the course, and I saw that there were other reporting type courses. I mean, other reporting type tools that are out there, and I saw that Microsoft had a tool that was on the brinks as well. And that Microsoft tool was Microsoft Power BI. And actually, the tool that I had learned, the reporting tool that I learned initially, or was introduced to initially, was the precursor to Power BI, which is SQL Server Reporting Services, SSRS, which that too is a Microsoft product. Just to give you some of my smart lingo so you know I know what I'm really talking about, SSRS is a paginated report. SSRS is a paginated report, whereas Power BI is not a paginated report. You can do paginated reports, create paginated reports in Power BI now, but that's not necessarily what it's built for. So with that said, I decided to look more into SSRS, and I decided to start looking into this Power BI thing. And the more I looked into this Power BI thing, I was like, man, I think this is what I want to do. This is the reporting service that I want to get into. And the reason that I chose Power BI was for a couple of reasons. One is because it was a mix in between engineering and it was a mix in between computer programming and creating websites, right? Because when you create a Power BI report could look like a website. It could look like a web page. It is a dashboard. Well, it could be a dashboard, but it looks like you're creating a dashboard. So you know that front end visualization and being able to make things move and click and integrate and interchange with one another. I really felt good about that. And I really liked it. And I was like, man, I said, this is what I like. So I did more research on this Power BI thing and more research on this Power BI thing. And eventually I said, yo, let me get certified in this thing. Let me get the Microsoft certification. So that's what I did. I ended up getting the Microsoft certification. Now, we could talk about Microsoft certification later at another time, but I did end up getting the Microsoft certification. Now, the Microsoft certification, to be honest, to be 120% honest, it really does not, and it did not, and it does not mean that you're able to create Power BI reports. It does not mean that you're going to be good at creating Power BI reports. It means that you took the time to take the test to become certified. Now, the upside to that is that it is the icing on the cake. Because if you got Microsoft certification on your resume and you're a Power BI developer, if you got Microsoft Power BI certification, if you have Microsoft Power BI developer certification on your resume, and you have Microsoft Power BI developer experience on your resume, that's icing on the cake. Because most cases, you're not going to run up against someone that you're interviewing for a job that has the experience and has the certification. Many people have the certification, but don't have the experience. Many people have the experience, but don't have the certification. But you got the Microsoft experience and the Microsoft certification. Oh, that's icing on the cake, right? And that really worked for me because I really had not been in the industry of Power BI development at the time, right? So given that, I was able to say I had some experience and I had the validity of a Microsoft certification badge from Microsoft, that put me in a whole nother ball game. So what I ended up doing was I ended up getting certified in Power BI. When I got certified in Power BI, I was like, let me get one more certification. And at that point, I was really getting greedy on certifications. I really didn't need another certification. So I'll leave the name of that certification out. But at the end of the day, I did end up getting a Power BI developer job. If you can relate to my story, if you can follow my journey, and if at any point in time you can put yourself into my shoes and you can say, that's me right now, I encourage you to, hey, at minimum, join my free Power BI webinar. Follow the link below and join my free Power BI webinar. Also, like this video and subscribe to this channel. Like this video, subscribe to this channel. I look forward to seeing you. So that's it for me right now. So here's the deal. Thank you for joining in, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next video.